Welcome to the Dental 18 podcast. I'm your host, Kira Dent, and I had this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, filler, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental 18 podcast. Hello, Dental 18 listeners. This is Kira, and I am jazzed because not only do I have a legend, this is somebody I podcasted with, like 2 years ago, and I didn't even really know what to do on podcasting. So I'm super excited to welcome him to the Dental A-Team. He's a great friend. I'm sure you guys have heard of him, Howard Farran. And I'm going to intro you, but Howard, how are you today?
I'm great. I thought, though, by now you would have changed your last name from Dent and gone all the way to Dentist. Just Kiara Dentist. You're still just right? Kiara Dent. What is it going to take for you to be Kiara Dentist?
I should change that. I get asked quite a bit of, Kira, is this actually your name or is this just a stage name? And I'm like, no, really, guys, it took 3 fiancés to get the last name Dent. So true story. Here we are. But I feel, Howard, you are somebody who needs no special introduction, but I'm going to intro you anyway because we have a pretty special big deal. We are podcasting today, August 4th. So this might be released a little bit later, but we are podcasting August 4th, which is a pretty special day. So you guys know Dr. Farran, he is a dentist and he is the founder and owner of Dentaltown.com and Dentaltown magazine. And he's practiced dentistry at Today's Dental in Phoenix metro area for more than 30 years. In 2017, Incisal Edge magazine ranked him amongst the 32 most influential people in dentistry, which I think is very, very true. Myself, I've known about him before I even started the Dental A-Team. So Dr. Farran has lectured internationally on the business of dentistry since 1990. Do you want to put in your date, Dr. Farran?
August 4th, 1990. Today's my 30-year anniversary, and I got this pillow. My comptroller, Stacy, made me a pillow, but 30 years on the road.
That's insane. 30 years today. We're celebrating the 30 years. So I think that's huge. Your genuine passion for helping dentists provide faster, easier, high quality, and lower cost dentistry to their patients is what drives you today. In 1999, Dr. Farran also released the timeless Your 30-Day Dental MBA series, which is available on YouTube and iTunes. Since then, he's released massive amounts of distinguished content, including his monthly Howard Speaks column in Dentaltown magazine, the 11-part online CE course, The Virtues of Profitability Dentistry, and his world-renowned podcast series, Dentistry Uncensored with Howard Farran, which has released more than 1,000 episodes and has been downloaded more than 5 million times. And as a podcaster, that is a huge feat to do. So Howard, massive feat. Dentistry Uncensored's guests include dental professionals from around the world, including top-tier specialists, dentists fresh out of school, CEOs of the world's largest dental companies, and experts in the marketing, finance, practice management, and more. Dr. Farran reaches hundreds of thousands of dentists from around the world every day. His ever-expanding presence across social media platforms include 300,000 Facebook followers, 25,000 Twitter followers, 35,000 LinkedIn followers, not to mention the 250,000 registered members on Dentaltown.com. So with that's a better intro than I did. Dr. Farran, it is truly an honor and a privilege to have you on the Dental A-Team, to chat with you, to see you, and how awesome is it that it's August 4th, so your true 30-year anniversary.
Yeah, me and my buddy from dental school, Craig Steichen, we just wanted to see New York City. I was born in Wichita, Kansas, went to Creighton and Omaha and dental school in Kansas City, and I'd never seen the Big Apple. So I kind of had this idea maybe I'll go give a lecture. We'll make it a business expense and I'll meet dentists. But the whole deal with that was just networking. So, it's one of those things where dentists they're shy, they're introvert, they clam up. When you go to a study club, they'll only get out their cases and show their mistakes and ask for help if it's 5 or 6 people max. But once you get to 10, they go to classroom style. They don't say anything, and life is just not just what you know, but who you know. And I knew when I got out of school that I knew a couple of business things because my dad owned 9 franchise restaurants, and I saw that all the franchise knowledge was not being applied to dentistry. So I thought, well, I'll go out and tell them what I know about business from my dad. I ended up getting my MBA like a decade later, but I did it because I knew if I went there and shared what I know, two things would happen. They would tell me what they think is wrong for free, why it's not going to work. And B, they tell me other stuff they didn't know. So I started in 1990, but meeting real people in the street telling me all these things. I'd say, well, write that up. And finally, it was 1994 where I realized I'm going to start a dental magazine because none of the dental magazines were owned by a dentist. And I would read these dental magazines, but they own like 100 magazines. So they own fireman, policeman, dentist, hygienist, teacher, and I wanted a real wet glove magazine that real wet glove dentists were saying what worked in the real world. And so it's always about sharing, and the more you put out, the more you're going to receive.
Absolutely. Well, and that's what I love. I mean, so you guys, the reason Dr. Farran and I are on the podcast today is because at Voices of Dentistry in January, before the world shut down, you and I were supposed to podcast there. And I'm like, dang it, we missed it. And now we're in COVID time. So here we are. But I just love your outreach and that you are a dentist and that you can speak to that. And so I have been super curious. I mean, you guys, it is Howard Farran. And if you listen to his podcast, you listen to anything, you know that this show is going to go. I'm not even sure. I don't even know if Howard knows where we're going today on our show. We always leave it up to chance with you. But I was curious, and what I was thinking of is because obviously the Dental team's about teams. It's about, we have a slew of listeners coming in. And I'm just really curious if you could go back in time and tell yourself coming straight out of school, what are some of the tips or things that you would advise yourself that would really help you have a different career path or a more successful or an easier career path that you would give yourself that advice to?
Well, first of all, you just got to believe in dentistry for one. I mean, Pierre Fichard was, 200 years ago in France, and G.V. Black was 100 years ago. I bought the first 3 books he wrote, autographed and signed by him. And if you read those 3 books 100 years ago, I mean, they didn't know. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, they thought they trephinated holes into the jaw to let the evil spirits out, and then they drew them, and they all look like court jesters. But the bottom line, dentistry, it comes down to is just a patient going to a dentist, and the whole industry starts when that patient gives the dentist $1 and says, fix my tooth. Here's a coin, fix my tooth. And that's dentistry, and it's not going away because the only health is wealth. And when you have a severe toothache, you can't go to the store the next day. You can't go along with your life. I mean, you have a serious toothache, and there's cosmetic things. Like, I imagine if you lost your front tooth, how many years would it take you before Kiara replaced her front tooth?
I'd be there within 2 minutes, and I would have a mask on. It would take no time to get there.
Oh, we had to close down St. Patrick's Day this year, and then we opened up Cinco de Mayo. My first patient was a 71-year-old lady whose crown fell off the day we shut down, and she was 10 times more mad about that than the entire pandemic.
I'm sure.
I mean, she was just, and you're thinking, well, you just got to put a mask on and go to Safeway, but it just killed her self-esteem. I remember probably the patient who adores me the most was, she called me crying from her bathroom. She had the family over, and she went in the bathroom to wash out her denture, and she dropped it in the sink, and she split it, and it was a Sunday. And I said, well, can't you just sneak out the back door? And she goes, well, where am I going to go? I said, I'll be at the dental office before you get there. And I hung up. And my 4 boys, I always tell my boys, Daddy's got, we got an emergency. And the boys would run to the car, and one would open the front door, and one got the chain and napkin. And I sat there and did a denture repair for her on a Sunday. And I mean, it took her from complete tragedy with this family thing to, I mean, every time she came in, she had to bear hug me for 5 minutes. And, I mean, it just saved her day. So dentistry is real. And people try to make all these weird things, like talk about the economy. They always believe that the economy is because of what your leader is doing, or the Federal Reserve, or what they're doing with interest rates. The economy is because 8 billion people wake up and they want to eat breakfast. So there's the whole breakfast economy. The dental economy is because 8 billion people have a tooth problem, and they go to 2 million dentists around the world, and it's not going away. But the government tries to make us think it's all them and their interest rates. Dental insurance companies try to make you think it's all them, and the government's got to do it. And I don't want to talk about politics and government and insurance or whatever. You just got to have faith in dentistry. And when these people don't have a job, I mean, I think it's actually good. I'm kind of like snickering because when I got out of school, I graduated May 11. I had my office open September 21st. And you see people just come out of school and they just walk around the dental office swimming pool, sticking their toe in, and they say, well, I think I should just go get a job. And it's like, okay, great. But I know that you can't get two dentists to agree that today's Tuesday. They're never, they're too educated. If you want to have 1 million employees, be Walmart or the Army. Don't be a law firm, a dental office, a medical. The politics at a hospital is deafening. All dentists have a friend that teaches at a dental school, and they say the politics is just insane.
It's insane.
Oh,
insane.
It's
I worked at Midwestern. I worked at their dental college for 3 years, and I was shocked at, one, no two dentists will ever agree on the same treatment plan. So let's just high five around that. Like, it's always different. That's okay. And the politics are pretty impressive as well. So yeah.
Was that Midwestern in Glendale?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, rule number one, if one instructor signs you off to start this filling and then you get another instructor to sign off when you're done, okay, you just
You're
cut
toast.
the world in half and you might as well go to Jupiter. I mean, so the thing is, I tell these dental students, I say, what do you want to do? And they say, well, I just want to get a job for now. And I say, okay, well, let's go back 5 graduating years. It's 2020. Let's go back to the class of 2015 and let's see how many of them went and got a job at this big DSO that's coast to coast and love it. And we can't find anybody. And then everybody that's 5 years out of school, they've had a different job every year. And they'll go work. This guy called me the other day, and then he worked for my friend for a year, and he's telling me everything is wrong with it. I'm just sitting there thinking, you will never have a dental office as good as my friend in 1 million years. And what you need to do is have your bubble popped and go start your own practice. So just open it up. And if you think you're going to go bankrupt, then what? So girls, when they lose their front tooth, won't care anymore. Everyone will just walk around and say, well, I'm from Casa Grande and that's how we look down here. I'm from AJ where, teeth is unfashionable. What you want is a Chanel number 5 and missing your 6 anterior teeth. Toothaches will go away. I mean, so, dentistry is a real thing. So is healthcare. And every single person so far has died. I mean, that when they do the DNA, they find that mitochondrial Eve for Homo sapien is about 1 million years ago. And we lived on the eastern edge of Africa in the mountains, near Somalia for 1 million years. 120 billion people died. Everyone's going to die. And the only wealth is health. And the more you can delay the dying, the more you can keep your teeth is the only ultimate wealth. And these people will part with all of their coin to not die of a disease. If I went to any mother who had a kid, have you got kids yet?
I don't. Nope, no kids yet.
You are a genius. Just keep it that way. If you change your mind, tell me, and I'll come over here and bonk you on the head. No,
I'll be sure to ask.
Kids are like, it's the hardest job you'll ever love. I mean, I love it. I've already talked to all 4 of my boys this morning, but it's a big commitment, and so is opening up a dental office. And if you open up a dental office, the only thing that matters is your relationship between you and the patient. And if you can attract a team of same values and open up a dental office where you ultimately really care and you walk the talk, everything you do on the patients, you do on yourself and your staff, and you need some higher purpose. What we did when I started my team, I said, okay, we're not just going to have the business of dentistry, drill, fill, and bill Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 till I drop dead and retire in some house. It's about, I want to have an impact on my community. And the first thing I noticed is that they didn't have water fluoridation. So what I did is I blocked off Friday mornings from 8 to 2 or 8 to noon. And I told my staff, we're going to fluoridate this town. It was the 3rd largest unfluoridated city, but it was at every Friday where we were studying the research, we were talking to the city councils. Jack Dillenberg, the dean of the AT Still, was the director of dental health, and he was turning me on to his contacts at the CDC. And this was before internet, computers, any of that stuff, where you would wait for a package and it would be a Xerox copy manual of a study and old journals. But I was so young and dumb, I thought this would take like 3 months for the city council to make a decision. End up taking every Friday for 2 years. And the Arizona State Dental Association gave me the Arizona Award for outstanding contribution for that effort. But it showed the purpose that we're serious here. This is a dental office. We want to lower the disease, missing filled teeth. Kind of reminds me of that joke. Well, if dentists make their money from cavities and 4 out of 5 dentists recommend this toothpaste, well, then I don't trust it.
Wow.
And that's what's the coolest thing about dentistry, because I can't think of another profession that tries as hard as it can to put itself out of business. Every dentist has everything to lose from water fluoridation, and 95% of them support it and work on it. We all have a hygiene department where if you do everything the hygienist says, I mean, go back. I mean, I got 2 hygienists. I don't know when's the last time any of them needed a crown or a root canal or anything like that. So we're trying to put ourselves out of business. It's a real deal. The patient doesn't want to die, lose body parts, teeth. So I don't know what the problem is. Either you don't believe in yourself or you don't believe in dentistry. And my God, it's time to do both. It's time to believe in yourself and believe in dentistry, because a million years from now, there's still going to be dentists.
Right. You're exactly right. And I love that you brought that up, because the reason we do the dental A team, to your point, I had a tragic accident a few years ago, which put me back in the chair at the dental office. And I thought, man, I really do love dentistry so much, and it really does change people's lives. Well, then owning my own practices and being in every single position, I started realizing, hey, there's an area for team members to really grow. Working at Midwestern, seeing all these potential doctors coming out, I just realized this is the best profession we could ever possibly be in. But yet so many doctors that I mean, yes, working at Midwestern, I know a lot of dentists out there. And so many of them just say, well, Kara, I think I'm going to try, like, well, just like you said, they tiptoe around. And the reality is, no, dentistry is an essential service. Our smiles, our teeth, like, that is health. It is part of the genetic makeup of our bodies. This is part of our livelihood. This is part of our lives. And people really will do a lot for it. And so I believe that thoughts create our beliefs. Our beliefs create our thoughts, and our thoughts create our words. Our words create our actions. That's Gandhi for you. And so what are you telling yourself day in and day out? Are you telling yourself that dentistry is going to be dying out in so many years, and you believe that? Well, then that's going to become your reality. Or do you believe that this is truly the best profession and you are the best person for this job? Then therefore, I don't see, people ask me all the time, like, Kira, what's your prediction of the future of dentistry? And I'm like, I think it's bright. I think it's strong. Like, but DSOs will take over. And I said, I don't think that that's the case. I do think that private dentistry will exist. So what are your thoughts on DSOs versus private dentistry existing in the future? What's kind of your take on that?
Well, it's kind of funny because, if you're an old man like me, I turned 58 this month. I do. August 29th, I turned
happy
58.
Birthday. August is a big month for you. High five
I
on
know.
your 30
My
years.
gosh.
Wow.
I know.
Good month for you.
They're the future of dentistry. I mean, it's clearly not going away. It's clearly the most important thing. They clearly don't believe in themselves. But your question about DSO is real simple. Is that most of the older people that are dentists are conservative males, I'll say that. And the thing they can't stand the most is like communism, where government control, one world order, all that kind of stuff. But then they believe that dentistry's in the business will have one world order. It'll be like one market. Well, look at housing. I mean, I can buy a mansion, a 4-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, an apartment, a studio. I can live in a car. My friend had their truck stolen, and they just found it 3 days later, and the guy was living in it. So the housing goes from, living in a van down by the river all the way to a 9-bedroom house. Look at cars. I mean, you could have, a bicycle, a scooter, all the way to a Lamborghini. And a Lamborghini is probably $300,000, but probably the number one selling car to the middle class is a $30,000 Ford Taurus, but the number one selling car in the world is a $10,000 Ford Escort. So you have all these market segments. And then people will go to dentistry and think, oh, it's just one thing. It's only fee for service. It's only a Delta provider. It's this one thing. And when I got out of school and the kids didn't want to start their own, they joined the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. Well, now they can get a job at Aspen and Heartland and all this. I don't want to hire these kids. I've been talked into it by some really good young dentists and they were friends with my boys in high school and all things like that. But who would want a dentist who's done 20 fillings in their life if I can have them? I like associate the other end where they already did their own practice. They were up in the cold.
Smart.
The kids are gone, and now their dream is to retire to a warm, sunny Phoenix. Well, hell, they've been doing dentistry for 25 years. I don't have to show them anything. They know what they can and can't do. Most importantly, they have that relationship. They can talk to the patient. I'll prefer that, but I love the DSOs that they provide jobs. Now, when you look at the fact that there's about 6,000 graduates a year in the United States, and it takes them about 5 years to own their own practice, I see a 30,000 max. I mean, you can't open up Walgreens coast to coast unless you got 50,000 pharmacists you can hire. Well, the whole pool of dentists that you can hire is only 30 grand. And I see zero evidence of people getting a job for any other dentist and saying, man, I really like taking orders from another person. I want to be under your thumb. Will you tell me everything no, it's just not the way humans are. It's not the way animals are. Animals, you let a woodpecker go, the first thing he does is tries to make a hole to crawl into to protect himself from everything else. Every animal's in a cave. Every animal's in a house. Like when people say that Americans aren't trusting, name one animal in the animal kingdom that's trusting. Who goes skipping through the jungle saying, oh, look at that cute little puma over there. I'll pet him while I eat this strange red berry. The whole animal kingdom is stressed out. The whole animal kingdom doesn't want to be engaged. The whole animal kingdom wants to stay home. And you want to work for yourself. And my gosh, so it's a market segment. And to say that DSOs will take over all of dentistry could only be said by someone who just isn't even into dentistry. But I think they got good things that they can teach us a lot. They're better on location. They're the best at answering their phones. You call any DSO that's a name brand at 2:00 in the morning, and a human being answers the phone and starts working the deal. And then you call every dentist in America from Thursday at 5 to Monday at 8. And I'm sorry, the mailbox is full. The mailbox is full, and they have unlisted phone numbers, So there's, Bob Fontana of Aspen set up a call center here, and I podcasted him, went to that call center. They won't even hire people that have dental experience because it's so hard to get their bad habits taken away. It's like golfing.
Interesting.
The first time my dad said I'd go golf with him, I was like 10. I was like so excited to get to golf with Dad that I almost cried because he dropped me off at the lessons guy. And he said I had to have 10 lessons before I swung with him because he didn't want me to get this bad hook and slice that he has. And he said he spent 20 years trying to get rid of his bad habit, and he wanted Howie to start fresh, and do it right. And so the bottom line is, my gosh, we have so much to learn from these DSOs. Let's say you get out of school and you go work for Bob Fontana and in Aspen, in Phoenix. And I'll meet him. I'll say, oh, my God, have you been to their call center? No. So you just want to have lunch and complain about Aspen and wish you had your own deal. And Bob's not even a dentist, and he has 800 locations and a call center that looks like you're in Star Wars. And then there's other dentists who said, oh, yeah, I went and worked for Heartland. And then I met someone like you, someone in senior management that's just crushing it, and was able to convince her to leave the operation and come to their startup. So she's already at the level of 1,000 locations. But why is she leaving? Why? Because staff turnover is a problem everywhere. You just can't. It's a problem with kids. It's a problem with your marriage. It's a problem. Who's getting married? You even said, you joked that you had 3 fiancés before you found one. Okay, so you have a fiancé turnover problem, Humans are complex. And what you need to do, the most important thing, I love what you're doing with the Dental A team because it's all your team. It's attracting like-minded people. And as soon as you get your core base, you're not going to be a millionaire until you have a dozen people that have been with you 5 to 10 years. And everybody I know that collects $1 million a year, and they're taking home $250 to $350. They're old, and they got a receptionist, assistant, and a hygienist that's been with them 20, 30 years. And the person
Mm-hmm.
that's struggling, it's always someone new. And that's the biggest problem with DSOs, because in Phoenix, they come in, they say, yeah, I went to this place. It's really, really great. And they said I had 4 fillings. So I went back in there and that doctor is no longer there. And then
Totally.
they gave me another guy. And then I was going through that. Then I went back and now he's not there. And then they start wondering, why does nobody stay there? Now, there's good stories. I lost my uncle to Aspen. And I think, no, it was great because they have a denture repair service. And when my uncle goes to me, I have to send it to a lab. He's without his teeth from 8 to 5. He goes into Aspen and just takes the newspaper with him. Yes, they still sell newspapers. That might be shocking to some of your listeners.
Shocking to us.
And he just sits there in the waiting room for an hour, and they got the lab. And Aspen does a better job. They have a better call center than I do. So the answer is, it's market segmentation. And if you look at all healthy economies, all healthy markets, look at cars. How many major car companies are there? A dozen. I mean, there's a dozen car companies, and dentists think that everybody should just practice like Ralph does because Ralph is Mr. Dentistry. And then another thing you got to tell dentists that they don't believe, but when dentists die, it's not going to make the newspapers. I mean, dentistry has been going for 2 centuries, and it's going to go for another 2 centuries with or without any dentist, with or without anybody's opinion. This is a human body part. It's rock solid. It's not going away.
No, you're exactly right. And what I love that you said is it's helping people to see the trends, and also to learn from DSOs. I always say, you guys, DSOs have incredible systems. They have incredible systems. They have that figured out to where somebody without dentistry can come in, can learn it, to train. And so for those associate doctors who are at a DSO and they're wanting to start their own practice, I suggest, and I'm curious on your take, I always suggest that they learn the systems from the DSOs. But I love that your stance is look at the market, look at where we're going. It's not going to go away. Dentistry, like we talked about at the very beginning of this, is dentistry is here for the long haul. We're here for the long haul. And if you really are good at what you do, you're good at your craft, that you're not going to have an issue. And I don't believe that DSOs will take over the entire world, because I think, well, there isn't a car company, like you said, that's taken over the entire industry. There will always be different people that want different types of services. They're not going to run everybody out of business. And I really do believe there's a place for all of them to swim in the pool. There's a lot of people out there that need dentistry. There's a lot of dentists coming out of school. I think let's learn from each other and then just go for what works best for you. But I do agree to the heavy turnover in a lot of those DSOs. That's something that a lot of private practices oftentimes have an advantage over, is having that long-term team. So spinning to team, you've been in dentistry, you've talked to a lot of dentists. What are some of we have a lot of team members that listen. The whole idea of Dental A-Team was to build a podcast. I mean, doctors have CE all over the place. They have ways to become better. They're always sharing tips. And I thought, shoot, if I really wanted to grow a phenomenal practice, I need my team members to also be growing and educating with me. I need them to be leveling themselves up. I need them to be investing in themselves. I need them to be doing personal development as well. So what are some of the things you see that team members could implement right now that would make them, we're going to just use our name, A-Team team members? What are some of the attributes across every person you've ever met? You have so much experience, Howard, that I feel you're a wealth of knowledge. So what would you say to team members listening or offices listening that want to enhance their team? What are some of those key pieces that you really look for when you're looking
First of all,
at
I want you to know that all these adorable compliments you're giving me just means I'm really, really old. So when you're saying I have all this experience, I'm just, if you've been in dentistry 32 years and you didn't pick something up along the way, but I would say, let's just start from the beginning. On Dentaltown, when you start a thread, you can make it a pole. So you always hear people saying, "Oh, well, half the dentists think that," and I say, "Wow, that's interesting. Will you show me the pole?" "Oh, I just pulled that out of my rear. I just believe it." And so polling dentists since 1998. If you ask them what's the most stressful thing, it's never what bonding agent. It's never what, it's people, and it's either the patient or the staff. So a lot of that is because the dentist, to get A's in calculus, and applied calculus is physics, and applied physics is chemistry, and applied chemistry is biology, and applied biology is dentistry. It's someone who lived in a library for 8 years And they're not
Mhm.
Miss Personality like you. They're shy. They're introvert. It just is what it
Yeah.
is. I mean, my homies are more of a scientist than they are an Instagram influencer. And
100%.
and so then the other problem is they've always been told they're the smartest person in the class. They've always got all the A's and they're always so smart. So then they get that syndrome that, well, I'm just not a doctor of dentistry. I'm a doctor of everything. Thus, I know everything.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
then I'll go in there and you got to wake up to this. Dentist says, just because you know the difference between a derivative and an integral, okay, just because you know how to figure the volume of a sphere doesn't mean that you know how to hire staff. And so when I
Yeah.
go into an office, say, okay, buddy, you've had this office for 10 years and the longest anyone's ever stayed here is 2. Who's hiring these people? And he's like, well, I am, because I'm the smartest person in the room and I got an A in physics. And I'll say, okay, well, the evidence is that you're horrible at this job. So I need some humility. I need some humbleness. I mean, and the problem with humans is that if they can't see it, they'll believe it. So when I mean, everybody remembers the first time they tried to dunk the ball because you saw
Right.
you saw Dr. J doing it. Well, I can do it at Dr. J, and then you do it, and indeed, I cannot dunk a ball like Dr. J. And then you see Tiger Woods, you're like, well, I can do that. Anybody can do that. Indeed, I can't do that. So if they,
Mhm.
that's why they hate math. They hate math
Right.
because you either got it right or wrong. What do they love? They love the things they can't see or measure. Philosophy, politics, religion, where you just, if you believe it, we're all good.
Right.
So when you have to show them, look, you're not good at this, and you're not happy, and you hate your
Mm.
hygienist. So
That
number
you
one,
hired.
yeah. So number one, if in the dental office, sometimes the doctor is the best person in HR. Sometimes it's the doctor's wife. Sometimes it's your hygienist. Sometimes it's your
Mhm.
assistant. So if you're not good at it and the results are clear, let's take HR seriously. So I'm in Arizona, which is the state with the best football team in the history of the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Bidwell, I don't know if I can say it for hip or everything, but he was a patient of mine and just a great gentleman. But he didn't go pick the players. He had scouts, and that the
Mhm.
scouts were, they broke up into quarterback and running back and all these colleges, but they knew every single person that played in college that even might possibly be an NFL person. So they take HR very seriously. And so the dentist has turnover. He's not happy. The staff isn't happy, but he's still in charge. So I would say, let's get someone in charge. And the first thing you have to do is, it's just like marriage. I mean, you're either
Mhm.
on board or you're not. If you hate
Yeah.
me and you're sleeping with the neighbor and you don't come home 3 nights a week, I mean, what do you need before you say, this isn't working? And my
Right.
joke is like, what does your hygienist have to do to get fired? Does she have to park her car through the wall into the waiting room and just pull up,
Good
crash through
point.
the front door and get out and say, where's, I mean, the
Yeah.
amount of dysfunction. And then when it is functional, it doesn't mean it right. It means it works. Like you may like country music, and I love music more than anything, but I don't want to listen to country music. My oldest boy Eric's always trying to make me listen to Garth Brooks and George Strait, and they're fantastic, but they're not the Rolling Stones. I mean, come on. If you think
That's a
Garth
very
Brooks
good
is
comparison.
Mick Jagger, but I don't want to work with a bunch of people playing Garth Brooks all day and
Mhm.
have the whole. I'm a Mick Jagger Rolling Stones guy. I'm a third eye blind guy. I'm not. So it's preference. And you go into dental office
Mhm.
where everybody's getting along well, and you'll find out, oh, they're all Christian, they all love golf. I mean, they all
Yeah.
love bowling, and they're all in a bowling league, and all the girls are in a softball league, and they just get along.
Mhm.
It does, maybe you don't want to play softball, maybe you don't want to go bowling, maybe, but so you just need to find people that want to run 20 red lights on the way to work because they can't wait to tell Sheila what happened last night at the bowling alley.
Mhm.
Versus,
Mhm.
oh my God, I'm pulling up and there's that crazy assistant getting out of the car. Oh my God, I hate that woman. And you can just cut the stress with a
You can.
knife. And I just don't know why it has to go on. So I would say, Doc, you're an introvert scientist. Anybody who loves physics, there's something not right in their head. And it probably can be traced back and proven in a human interaction. And so find the best scouts, find the best thing. By the way, all of our greatest employees that we found was from our supply people. They would say, well, you know, the best assistant in the world is so miserable because her team's not going for it. They're not trying. They tolerate failure. They don't. And then you interview them and you say, well, what's wrong with the practice that you're at? And they tell you, and you can just tell that they want to win the Super Bowl. And they're not going to do it at this doctor's office. And, you know, and when you get a team like that, and by the way, it's never perfect. Every day you start new. Look at the Patriots. I mean, when I was little, Dallas was America's team. Now I think simple math would say it's the Patriots. Well, now Tom Brady's gone, this and that. I mean, HR, you know, Lori is in charge of our HR for, you know, 23 years, whatever. But it's funny because it never ends and it never will end. I mean, if you're 100 years old, well, your hygienist might quit. She might get ran over by a car. She might get married and leave, you know. So HR in sports is exactly like it is a business. And it all comes down to one thing. Does your team get along? And some low-hanging fruit is some people are confused because let's say Kiara works 5 days a week and 4 days a week. She's all happy and bubbly and all there. And then that 1 day a week, man, she's got different eyes. She's upset. She's pissed off at the world. And, you know, those are moody people. And you can say, Kara, I love you 9 times. But then one time say, Kara, indeed, I don't love you. And I think you're just a little bitch. And that's all that you remember for the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And so you don't want moody people. You want people that are always the same. You want people. And I used to tell them, look, there's 168 hours in a week. Your ass is mine 32 hours a week, okay? If you're all mad and want to talk about politics, religion, sex, violence, your ex-husband, whatever the hell, you got 130 hours a week to do that. 32 hours a week, you're in here. You know who we're going to talk about? The patient. You're not going to go in the room and tell them what you did on the weekend. You're going to go in there and ask them what they did on the weekend. When it's Christmas time, I don't want you to tell anybody what you want for Christmas because I don't care what you want for Christmas. We got Sheila coming in at 8 o'clock and let's make it special for her. It's all about the patient. Now, it's not the customers come first. I've called 911 3 times on a patient in the deal. And one was like an 80-year-old lady who wouldn't leave until I gave her Vicodin. And I don't even know where this even came from, but she knew she could come in there and yell loud enough that I'd write her a script or something because she was in serious pain, but didn't want an exam, didn't want me to look at it. She was going to come back, you know, whatever the hell.
Clearly serious.
Yeah.
Serious.
Yeah, but the bottom line is you come in and you dismember my staff and get her all shook up and upset her. Well, that's going to rub off on the next 10 patients. I walked up there one time. I think I was only open 2 or 3 years. And some guy was verbally abusing and screaming at my receptionist. I didn't even say a word. I just looked at him, picked up the phone, dialed 911. And then he was like, what the hell? Oh, screw it, I'll just leave. When the police got there, he said, well, he's gone. You want me to leave? I said, no, I want you to get him, disturbing the peace. And so my team comes first, not my patients. And if they're all happy, I really enjoy spending time talking to the team. And if you don't feel that way, you got the wrong team, and you got to share the same values that, you know, dentistry is job one in our career. So if you get the team right, like dentists are saying on Dentaltown, they're saying, well, my hygienist says that she wants me to give her proof that this mask is good enough than that. It's like, really? Well, she has a 4-year degree in a hospital. She's a nurse. And you give her a $40 an hour and she shows you the hoops you're supposed to jump through. Well, I got a better idea. Why don't I fire your ass and spend that time educating you on getting a new HR? It's like a quarterback. You got a quarterback and every time he throws the ball, it's intercepted and ran in for a touchdown. So what are you going to do? You're going to go down there and take him to a quarterback finishing school at Spear or Coyce or Ross Nash or Pankey or Dawson? I think it'd be a hell of a lot easier just to fire them and find someone that can do it. I mean, this is a problematic pandemic causing a lot of pandemonium, and you're just going to sit there with your arms crossed, waiting for me to figure everything out because I pay you money on the 1st and the 15th. No, I pay you $40 an hour, hygienist. So show me the value. I pay you $20 an hour, a dental assistant. Show me the value. But I was not born to create jobs for my staff, and then I was not born to fix all the teeth from the people. It's kind of like the people, like take Noam Chomsky, the great linguist, philosopher,
Yeah.
great guy. You know, he was an amazing linguist, and then he got
Mm-hmm.
into history, and I don't think anybody has worked as hard and long. And he's right here in Tucson. Just love listening to his rants on everything the government has done wrong in the history of time and
Sure.
all their abuses and all that kind of stuff. But he never says anything about the worker. Oh, yeah, the worker. It's kind of like, no, have you ever wondered, this is the only system they used for 5,000 years? It kind of reminds me of Iraq when they thought, well, if we get rid of that bad guy Saddam, then all the peaceful angels are going to fly out and live happily ever after. And indeed, there was a lot of people, you know, that were not angels. And so you kind of look at the government, kind of has to have about the same amount of energy level to counteract the energy level of its people, you know, to make some kind of harmony deal. So the HOA, the management team from the Roman Empire to the United States, China, Russia, whatever, yeah, they did a lot of things right. They went to the moon, launched satellites, invented radio, internet, all that stuff, but they did a lot of bad things. But the worker, he's no angel either. So it's always about a yin yang. It's always about finding a balance. And then they asked Noam the other day, they said, well, where's the right gone too wrong? And he lists all these examples. And they said, where's the left gone too extreme and too wrong? Couldn't think of one. And it's the same thing with the government's all bad, the people, oh, they're perfect. Well, the people ain't perfect. And if the right can go too far right and the left can't, I no longer trust your thinking. So it's about yin yang. It's about harmony. It's about balance. The same thing with the patient. You know, I'm held to the standard by the Arizona State Board of Dental Examiners to do dentistry this good. On Billy Bob, who hasn't flossed his teeth one time in 48 years and comes in and he's got a pack of Marlboro Red and he sits there and says, you want me to spit out my chew? Oh, no, I'll just work around it. So you know.
Don't mind us.
Yeah, so the patients aren't perfect. And I tell dentists, don't ever care more about their teeth than they do. And I'll give you a real world example. You know, I got a guy scheduled for 30 minutes to do an MOD composite on 3. He shows up 10 minutes late. As soon as he sits down, you know what his first thing out of his mouth is? Oh, dude,
Gotta use the bathroom.
You got a bathroom? Sure, knock yourself out.
Every time.
Let me numb you up. Let me numb you up. So, you know, at least it'll be soaking in. Gets back. You do your MOD amount. You do your MOD filling, and you got the contact, you got the decay, but you go to floss, and it's a light contact, and it's like, man. Now, if it was on you, absolutely redo. But I'm out of time. And a lot of that's because of you. And you don't care about your teeth. And you know, I diagnosed this 3 years ago, and you're late, and this. So it's good enough for you. So a lot of dentists are like, oh no, that's dangerous. Well, they're extremist. You know, you start caring more about their teeth than you do. I'll give you an example of an insurance. So they have an insurance that's PPO or Medicaid, and they say, well, they only give me $100 for a filling. Well, then do an amalgam. Amalgam will last 38 years. It's the best restoration. Well, I don't want to do amalgam that costs me $1. I want to do a posterior composite for 110. Well, he's not going to give you any extra money. He doesn't care. I counsel this on the Indian reservations. They have a tremendous cancellation no-show rate. Half the people coming in for free dentistry don't even show up for free. It's like, well, why don't you just tell them that if you miss your appointment for your free dentistry, it'll cost you a $20 bill out of an ATM machine, non-refundable, to make the next appointment. And they're like, well, we can't do that. Oh, because you care more about their teeth than they do.
Right.
And, you know, so, I mean.
Well, I think that just like, I love the points of, you know, I think tying that to teams, don't care more about it than your teams do. I love what you said about that harmony and that synergy. And I also love that you are a dentist. I'm not a dentist. I'm not going to speak to the dentist of how it feels, but I love that you said, like, recognize, docs, what you do really, really well and what you don't do well, and be okay to let that go. I think so many times doctors want to be perfect. And as leaders, you want to have all the answers. And sometimes the answer is that you aren't the best, or you don't have the answer, and have somebody who's really, really good at it do that instead. I really also loved your point of, don't care more about your patient's health than they do. I think we can educate, but at some point it also becomes an entitlement that we actually breed within our patients and within our team members because we care more about it. We want them to care so much that we allow an entitlement attitude to come through rampant. And I love that you've been able to very poignantly tie it back to, hey, guys, like, let's look at ourselves. Docs, like, what are we really, really good at? Team members, what are we really, really good at? And let's all like go into our zone of excellence, make sure we're bringing that to the table. And I love that you said a team that's happy that as dentistry is number one. And I loved also that you said, docs, your team's number one, not your patients. Because I think when doctors can get that mentality, you have a team that will rally around you. They will go to bat for you. They will make the patient experience amazing because they know you have your back. As a team member myself, knowing my doctor had my back was one of the greatest compliments they could ever give me because I knew that they cared about me more than they cared about what I was bringing to the practice. I was a person, not just a paycheck going through there to pay their bills. So I love that you've said that. And with that, I would say, are there any other tips or nuggets for doctors or teams that you'd want to end on? You've given so many. I feel like I love your podcast. I love podcasting with you because you will go on so many different avenues. I've been like writing down, only wealth is in health. So going back to why dentistry is great, the DSO mentality versus the private practice mentality, and what one do we want to live in, and looking at the spectrums of cars and the animal kingdom, and just those different analogies that you were pulling through, and then to the yin and the yang of team members and doctors, and making sure your team is harmonious in order to really execute the best experience for you in a job, for your team in a job, and also for your patients coming in. Howard, those were like such good nuggets that I was just pulling through, like writing quickly over here. Any other ones that you'd want to leave as we wrap up? Because you really did so many great points today, and I
we
appreciate
talked
it.
about the different market segments in cars and houses and food. Like I can go get 2 tacos at Taco Bell for $1, but Mikhail's will charge me $7 for 2 tacos.
Right.
So it's all these market segments, and it's the same with the patients. A lot of people are upset because one of the things about an authoritarian government, everybody's going to do what they're told. In a democracy like America, you're finding out that half the people don't believe in masks. Okay, that's a classic example. It just is what it is. They don't believe in masks. What are you going to do? Are you now going to use that as an excuse to go arrest them and kidnap them and put them in a cage? Well, I think that's all worse than the behavior. And
Sure.
It's the same thing in dentistry. I think half of America just wants to buy dentistry on price. Most of those people are going to go to the cheapest, fastest place on their insurance. And most of those people don't believe in the coronavirus. I mean, I cannot tell you how many adorable neighbors and friends I have that all think it's a hoax. In fact, my first call this morning was from a dentist in Maine, just telling me how the whole thing was a hoax. It's a one world government deal. It just is what it is, and that's okay.
Sure.
And my gosh, but the first 32 years to really, instead of being a commodity where people buy the cheapest, you go to gas. I mean, if the gas station on the other side of the street's a nickel less, they'll go over there. They don't know if the gas from Russia, Alaska, Saudi Arabia, or fracking in Texas. It's a commodity that only trades on price. And dentistry is a commodity that only trades on price for about half of the country. The other half, it used to be cosmetics, and I want to go get my fellowship in the AACD or something like that. Well, now I think this pandemic for the next year, the number one market differentiation is disease control. So I would say that since half your patients don't even believe in it, care, or want to wear a mask or whatever, you can really go about normal business for half your practice. But it's the older people that this, the first time SARS came through America was 2012, and it killed 30 million souls, and nobody cared about it because it was all pigs. But and on the pigs, it was the babies. Well, this one isn't the babies; it's the older people. Well, those are the ones that need all the dentistry. So when they call your office and say, "Kara, I'm there's a big flare up in Arizona. I think I'm just going to stay home." Say, "Well, here's the deal. Your treatment plan is $2,250. if you give me your credit card and we take that $22.50, we will schedule you a time where you are coming here and you'll be the only one here. So, it'll be the last one of the day, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. And the only person that's going to be here is you, me, and my assistant. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And so it's about, it's not so much reality as it is perception equals reality. Anything you can do with the air filters, the mask, the temperature. I don't recommend taking the temperature on the forehead. I do think it erases your memory, because I went into the grocery store and they took my temperature and I went in for macaroni and cheese and came out with 2 cases of beer. I mean, I don't know how.
Hey, it might be good. They don't know that they're at the dental office. They think they're at the spa. So keep it up, guys. Just keep it up. We're going to erase their memories. You obviously that's a testimonial for what happened at the grocery store.
So make the older people are the ones that need root plane curettage, implants. They need all the work. A 30-year-old kid needs one filling, but a 60-year-old grandpa needs a whole bunch of work, and they're the ones getting kicked the hardest by this disease. I mean, obviously, if you're over 80, over 70, I thank God I'm only going to turn 58 this month, because it's over 60 when it starts to get you. And I see these coronavirus coming around saying he's not 60. We'll come back in 2 years. And then they fly away. And
out of there.
So get disease control down, and remember that you have 2 sets of patients. You got half of your patients calling you. Just they don't want to hear anything about coronavirus. They think it's stupid. But if they're older, or if they got many years of education, now the deal is you got to make them feel safe. And anything you can do to make them perceive that, this office looks very different than before the invite. That's all they got to see. If they came to you for 32 years, Dawn just sent me, my office manager sent me pictures today of the waiting room. She even changed out the waiting room furniture because cloth isn't as easy to sanitize as leather. And so she switched them out. But all these little changes make all the scared people realize, they're taking it serious. And that's why we're not going to get shut down, because the reason Arizona just shut down the bars is because the people that work in bars, they're not taking it as serious as the people taking dentistry. Right. I mean, come on. If you think your local bar and gym and restaurant is as serious as a dental office, you got to make sure your dental office is as serious as the hospital.
Right.
And once they get that, we're going to stay open and we're not going to shut down. And this too shall pass. And it always passes. And every century is better than the last century. And the only reason America is getting kicked so bad on this is it's our first rodeo with it. I've lectured in all those Asian countries. And I remember when SARS was a big deal out there. And that was 2012. And this is 2020. 8 years they've been thinking about this guy coming back. And then every time that Ebola would break out in Africa, not one American cared, because they said, well, it's not over here, it's in Africa. And Africa and Asia, 75% of the population, it's on the other side of the world over there. So this is the first time in a century where that disease is over there, made it over here, might have had something to do with 27,000 international flights every day and packages. So this one was a real bad one. I mean, 150,000 dead. It's not going to be over for a year. But going forward, just like the AIDS pandemic made us wear gloves, get rid of the cuspidor, get rid of the water line from the street to a bottle in the room. So all these things are upping our game, and what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And the next pandemic that comes around, who knows, it'll be 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. Another one will be back, and we'll be more ready for it than ever before.
I think my takeaway from that I love that you just pointed out is when people are zigging, you should zag. So for you thinking of, hey, here's your population of your patients, when these older patients are calling you, have them come in at a later time. I don't think a lot of offices are thinking that way. I don't think a lot of dentists are thinking that way. I love that you just gave a perspective that's completely different than what I think a lot of people are looking at. And that's what I try to coach a lot of offices on is think differently. Think of how this problem is actually a solution for you in a different way. I love that you brought up the point of, yes, this is just upping our game, guys. It's just making us better. This is the new norm. It's not going away. So just get used to it. Like it might change a little bit, but just up your game. And then when people are zigging, look how you can zag to be a leading edge office, to be somebody who's innovating and creating. And I really struggle when people sit here with all these problems like, oh my gosh, our world is falling apart. And I'm like, yes, it is to a point. but that's also, again, perception versus reality. You get to create that with your perception. And so change that if it's not an empowering one for now. So with that, I just appreciate you, Howard. I appreciate what you've done for dentistry. I appreciate the influence you've had on my life. I appreciate you taking time today to talk to us, to talk to the Dental A team. It's I was sitting here, I'm semi fangirling. I didn't know what fangirling was, but I love that you're easy to talk to. You've got a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and I love that you bring that to the table every single time. So thank you for what you've done for my life and also for dentistry as a profession.
Well, same back at you, and thank you for coming on my show a couple of years ago. And everything you're
Yes.
doing, dentistry needs so many people like you to keep it going. So just have faith in yourself, have faith in dentistry. My God, if you don't have faith in yourself, I do. If you don't have faith in dentistry, I do. You're going to be fine. Just take a deep breath and rise to the challenge.
Such good words. Such words. And Howard, if people haven't heard about you, hopefully we can give more exposure on the Dental A team. How do people connect with you and become a part of what you've got going on?
Just download the Dentaltown app, because we got 250,000 people there. We were 5 years before Facebook, and the thing that I fear about Facebook is it balkanates in like if you believe in anti-fluoridation. Someone comes on and says they're pro-fluoridation, you delete them. If you believe in amalgam and you go to a cosmetic group, they'll delete you. So so no one pops your bubble. And the thing about Dentaltown is you can't delete other people's deal. You can't unfriend them. And you might say, my composites last twice as long as your amalgams, and then 20 people can show you all the published research that indeed amalgams do last longer than composites. It's not right or wrong, but we're not going to sit here and let you live in a bubble. That so if you're just following and unfriending, like my mom, my two older sisters are nuns. Guess what percent of my mom's Facebook friends go to the same exact Catholic church as she does?
Probably the bulk of them.
They wouldn't even let a Lutheran in that group, okay? I mean, and you'd have to be a church historian to even know the difference. So the bottom line is I love, and then the other thing is, as social media is just last in, first out. It's just rolling for the day. But Dentaltown on a message board, all 6 million posts are indexed. So if you just broke a file in MB2, all you got to do is put MB2, and you'll pull up every thread that shows how to remove it, bro. So it's all indexed, and it's just a great treasure of 6 million posts that you're going to have to think about in whatever model that you believe. So you believe all these things, okay? Believe all these things, but here's 250,000 dentists who might think maybe you should also think about this, because this is you're gonna run into this someday. No matter how deep your bubble is, no matter how far you fell down the rabbit hole, you're gonna run into some realities. And so just learn from the elder, learn from the old people. Don't learn, no sense learning everything the hard way.
Oh, that's so good. And that made me think of one of my favorite quotes. It says, success leaves clues, so follow it. You can either choose to just take the hard road, or you can take the easy road from people if you're just willing to research, to look for that, and to go to places that have trusted information. I love that you said it brings up controversial topics, because I believe that when you can shake someone's belief system, you can shake their thoughts, and you can completely shake their destiny. So if I'm in one world that thinks that only PPO insurance is the way to do it, but then you can shake my belief and change it to help me see that fee for service or Medicaid or all these different things that maybe I had never thought of, that could ultimately change the destiny that I end up to. So you guys, go get on Dentaltown. That's it. That's a good one. Did you have something else?
One last thing. You know what's a lot better than Dentaltown? Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest.
Do tell.
Combined? Walk across the street and shake the dentist's hand. Every time I'm in a small town, I say, who, if you could be one other practice, who would it be in this town? They go, oh, the Jimbo over there, man, he's crushing it. Really? When's the last time you had dinner with him? I've never even met him. I saw him at a study. Dude, invite him over your house. Yes. When I opened up Ahwatukee, I invited every physician, dentist, chiropractor, every healthcare, anybody in healthcare in Ahwatukee, I invited to my house. 100% of the chiropractors come over, 100% of the naturopaths, only a few of the MDs, about half the dentists, and now 30 years later, those were the happier ones, the ones that saw me as a competitor. I never, there's a couple of them I never even saw smile. I've never seen them smile. And it's like, dude, we're homies. We compete against big screen TVs and gosh darn trips to Disney World, not each other. I mean, if I'm going to put my phone on an emergency, I'd rather they go to the dental office across the street because they already drive to my office, but they'll say, oh no, I'm going to have some guy in Tucson do it so they won't steal my customer. I mean, just relax. Have fun, and you don't need to get on the internet to learn something when you got a periodontist across the street placing implants, but you're going to go learn how to place them in the Dominican Republic. You know how many you're going to have to fly over your periodontist's house on the way there. Why are you going to the DR when Jerry would teach you himself? I mean, so more going to the bars and drinking beer with the dentist. And by the way, the MDs are big egos, but the chiropractors and the naturopaths, when you call them, they're like, really? You want to talk to me? It's like, I want you to come to my house. I want to cook you dinner. You know, you start hanging out with anybody that sees a patient in any realm. One of the ladies is a pelvic health therapist. I didn't even know, I don't have
I didn't know. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I never had a baby. I look pregnant, but I've never had a baby. And I guess after you had a couple of babies, you're pelvic. But anyway, she came by and, I don't know how many people that have pelvic problems will also one day say, by the way, do you know a good dentist? And she's like, well, indeed, I do know a good dentist. In fact, I've, ate dinner at his house before, so just get out there and run for mayor. Get out there like you're running for the mayor of dental world in your town and shake hands. Pharmacists were the biggest ones. I got every pharmacist over to my house at least once a year. And every other day someone's saying, what's better? Would you recommend Ambisol for a toothache or Aleve, or which one would you do? And they pick up their cell phone and they FaceTime me, or they call the office and say, if you just go across the street, you don't even need an appointment. Walk in there and go tell Howard what you just told me. And then they walk in the front door and they'd say, you know Brad? I mean, Brad, the pharmacist? Well, hell yeah, I know Brad. What did you ask him? Please don't tell me it was Ambisol, so that's all pressing the flesh. And now kids just want to build that community with posting on Facebook or, some digital thing or whatever. Just get out there and press the flesh, shake hands, and run for mayor of your dental town, and you'll be fine.
Gosh, that's really, really, really good advice. And I'm going to give you guys a challenge off of that. And I'm going to say, call somebody, email somebody, go talk to somebody that might intimidate you. And I'm going to leave it with this because honestly, Howard, for me to send out an email to ask if you want to be on the Dental 18 podcast, and I'm not trying to fluff your ego or anything like that. I was so anxious to get on this podcast to talk to you because I feel from my own state of no, but Howard's been in the business for so long. Who am I? What can I bring to this? We all have those feelings of intimidation. And the reality is you said yes. You said yes to me. You've gone on the podcast. We have a relationship. We have a friendship. I feel like I could email you and say, hey, I don't know about this, but that intimidated me. And so I'm going to encourage all of you to take what Howard just said, go talk to somebody, email somebody. Who cares if you don't get a response back? At least you tried. At least you push yourself out of your comfort zone, because there's always someone that will give you, most people are willing to share. All you have to do is get the guts to ask. And so thank you for that challenge. And thank you for saying yes to us and being on the podcast. I think you just bring so much value. So I really, really appreciate you being here today.
Well, it was an honor to talk to you on my 30th anniversary. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show. It was an honor and a privilege to be on your show.
Absolutely. And congrats on the 30 years. That's a huge accomplishment. All right, you guys, this has been Howard Farran on the Dental 18. And thank you all of you for listening. And we'll catch you next time on the Dental 18 podcast.
And you guys, that's a wrap on the Dental 18. But don't worry, the Dental 18 actually has a newsletter where we send out more tips and tricks every single week straight to your inbox. No, these are not podcast topics. These are additional topics that have downloadable forms. So head on over right now to thedental18.com, register for our free newsletter. We don't spam you. We don't send you junk. We just send you tips and tricks for your team. This is a great way, you guys. You could get your whole team on an email campaign if you can't get them to listen to the podcast. So head on over to thedental18.com right now and become part of our newsletter family.